All right, let's now get to have a quick look at the dailies. As always, a copy of the Daily Nation, starting off with the main read. Ruto, Raila power sharing headache. Pictured therein as some of the leaders that are, have associated themselves with these two particular leaders from their individual camps. And they go on to call it as a Game of Thrones, with both of them having ambitious people that surround them. And this ambition is tethered to their proximity to these particular leaders, and them ascending to particular offices or positions within the government should either of these two leaders actually win the race towards the presidency. That story has been covered across page 12 and 13 of this daily. We can always give you details as we proceed on. Away from that, of course, that story concerning Mike Sonko has also been featured here. Day of drama as aspirants seek IEBC nod. Governor aspirants across the country were yesterday caught in a mad rush to seek final clearance by the IEBC to vie. In Mombasa, Mike Sonko argued that he had appeals pending in court and therefore should be allowed to vie pending determination. Elsewhere, Sakaja was cleared to vie in Nairobi, Irongo Kangata in Murang'a, Cleophas Malala in Kakamega, and Muthoni Njuki in Tharaka Nithi. Finally, no, I will not ban Mitumba. These are the words of Raila Odinga when, in response to some attacks that he got from critics who say misinterpreted what he was saying during the launch of his manifesto Monday evening. He went on to say that he would actually empower the Tumba traders in our country to get to a point where they can actually manufacture these products and clothes from within the country and not necessarily have to export. Details in just a bit. Victor.
Very well, and on the front page of the Star, Raila's pledges to cost 400 billion shillings annually. Kanini Kega says that the agenda is viable given that Kenya loses billions of shillings every year due to corruption. DP allies tear into the blueprint, terming it hot air and unrealistic. All right, and on the second page here, queries raised over 14 subjects in junior high school. MPs say that subjects meant for the learners might be burdensome. The compulsory subjects are English, Kiswahili, Maths, Integrated Science, Health Education, Pre-Technical Education, Social Studies, Religious Education, Business Studies, Agriculture, Life Skills, and Physical Education. And optional subjects are visual arts, performing arts, home science, computer science, foreign languages, sign language, and indigenous languages. Now, learners are given an opportunity to choose a minimum of one subject and a maximum of two, depending on their interests and abilities. All right, and Raila's manifesto to cost 400 billion shillings. That is a story that's fleshed out there for you on the fourth page and fifth one. In detail, you can take a look at that. And finally, on sports, time to focus. Shujaa begin Commonwealth Games camp next week amid a tight schedule. That is according to the team manager, Eric Ogweno, who said yesterday that the camp will run for 5 weeks before the team departs for the club games in Birmingham, that is in England. So the 7th tournament will run from July 29th to 31st for both the men's and women's teams. That is what's on the Star newspaper. Doreen.
MPs approve act to increase the ceiling of debt to 10 trillion. That is what you're waking up this morning on the front page of the PD. That is moving it up from the current that was 9 trillion now to 10 trillion. We obviously also had that story this morning on the GMK news brief. So this, just as the legislators were approving this, they say that the Kenya's GDP is increasing, and so this gives the state the latitude to borrow more cash from foreign lenders. And again, this is just in a way to see how they're going to finance the budget. That is the 3.3 trillion budget. Remember that as of last year, December, we were at 8.6 trillion in terms of public debt, and this budget, constituted of an 846 billion deficit. So that is what is happening there in terms of that approval by the members of parliament to the debt ceiling, and also IBC's bid to change polls have now been rejected. by the same members of parliament, where the commission chairperson, that is Wafula Chebukati, had moved to parliament to see if MPs are going to approve the amendments that have been put forth, key among them being issues to deal with registration of voters, voter education, party nomination, party lists, and use of technology. This is actually part of what had been recommended when the nullification of the presidential elections were done by the former Chief Justice, that is David Maraga, to just see how best the commission can conduct free and fair elections. But going by what the legislators said, this is the fact that these regulations did not and do not conform with the Constitution, and that is why they shunned, or better still, did not amend those changes that the IEBC had recommended. And also, disqualified aspirants now seek to overturn Chebukati's decision in court. These were those that the IEBC disqualified in terms of the presidential elections, key among them being Ekuru Aukot, there's Ruben Kigame, Jimmy Wanjigi, and remember that largely good number of them were disqualified on the issue of the signatures, the 48,000 copies of IDs, and also the degrees not being certified. And what Ruben Kigame is now saying is that given the fact that IBC did not treat him well, particularly as someone living with disability, and he said that also did not give him the dignity and respect that he deserves. This is part of why he is also going to be moving to court. And lastly, to some bit of health matters, there's at least good news for cancer patients, particularly those with colorectal cancer. This is even as a new drug has been discovered in the US. This drug, as is being said by medics, it has the immense potential to treat colorectal cancer, and so this has now caused excitement in the country and also largely within the medics, as going by the recent statistics, which just shows that 47,000 new cases of cancers is what the country records every year, with the death rate rising to about 30,000 annually. Regina.
A quick overview of this particular daily. I have a copy of the Standard, and it puts into question the conversation about mitumba trade, the good, the bad, and the ugly. According to the KNBS statistics, at least mitumba trade accounts for 2% of the extended labor force. We're looking at millions of people who benefit directly and indirectly from the mitumba trade. This came up after the Azimio la Umoja unveiled its manifesto, and now we have seen the flag bearer Raila Odinga come out to say that he was misquoted in his statement in regard to that, but now that rather than focuses on, empowering the manufacturing sector and looking at, what government has been doing in regard to reviving the textile industry. Remember, in 2017, the government revived a myriad of projects around matters of textile, with Rivertex and such, to just ensure that we buy Kenya and build Kenya under that particular campaign. And there was also talk and somewhat a directive that has seen fade away over the last few months, is that Friday, those informal employment get to dawn in African attire, to just try and promote that particular industry. If we still do, maybe that just at a handful of numbers. So that's a story that has taken center stage in this particular daily, as well as matters of business in regard to the availability or lack of the dollar, the dollar shortage. Now it's blame game. Who do we blame? CBK says we have enough reserves, or other banks have enough reserves to take us through. But businesses, as you've seen over the last few days, saying that their imports, they cannot import because the commercial banks have capped the dollar in as far as them wanting to purchase. So we might actually be having a dollar crunch, or rather there is already one. Blame game. Who's to blame? Now 62 days to the general elections, and we are down to 4 presidential candidates from the 57, and this follows, the IEBC vetting of those who had vied various top seats, including the presidency. Now at the top we have, and this is what this particular daily has, it's a varied cast from a one-time spy cum lawyer. I'd want you to guess who this is. 2 tested politicians and a perennial aspirant. Yes,
A one-time spy come lawyer, 2 tested politicians, and a perennial aspirant. That's what we have in as far as the top 4 who are eyeing the top seat come August 9th. I'm sure you're familiar with them. If not, well, you can get this particular copy or even check our website there. There's quite a story here that has gone further to look at the academic qualifications of the top 4 presidential aspirants there, as well as their achievements, you know, other than just, you know, the academic qualifications there. Quite interesting there. I did not know that Wajakoya was a spy, but well, it's good to read. It's a good read to get to know exactly who are those that are eyeing the top seat come August 9th. Now, talking about matters of fiscal policy, is that legislators yesterday raised the country's debt ceiling to 10 trillion to give the government wiggle room. The current as well as the incoming government, they are moved by Majority Leader Amos Kemunya there, who argued that government needs to, this is a move to cushion the incoming government, you know, to, and also enable it meet its obligation, given that the budget, the finance bill had already been passed, and the BPS that was going to, you know, define government spending, where government intends to spend a cool 3.3 trillion shillings for the financial year 2022-2023, with KRA, or rather the taxman, given a target of 2.1 trillion shillings, and looking at its trend, well, it might miss that score, so we need to also bridge the plug the deficit there by borrowing locally and externally there. To the big read in this particular daily, and this is about matters of succession politics. We've said we're just 62 days away from the August 9th polls. So poll integrity, NIS secret, Ruto takes on KBC. So KBC has been quoted there. What he said, his utterances made on the eve of Madaraka Day. He's quoted, read, it is a first round win for Raila Odinga. This is intelligence, NIS data, and that is what it is saying. It is about 60%. Yes. And now, Ruto and his camp are calling for investigations into KBC's utterances, and they want the NIS Complaints Board to probe Interior PS Karanja KBC for abuse of national intelligence to advance partisan political agenda. The PS was quoted claiming that NIS reports showed Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate would secure a 60% first round win in the August 9th polls. Details are indeed fleshed out for you here in this particular daily. And if I can just read a sentence or two. Now, following that, the party is calling for investigations by the board to find if KBC's utterances were based on official NIS reports and whether the NIS Director General authorized the report. The Director General there being a Major General Philip Kamwero. If he had authorized the report, UDA also wants to know what remedial measures have been taken, and unless the board or the office of the Director General of an NIS provides a reasoned and acceptable finding or explanation to the complaint herein within 14 days of this letter, the complainant shall pursue further legal action to safeguard a peaceful electoral process that now stands compromised by the unlawful, unconstitutional, and reckless use of intelligence. Now, this is according to the UDA, or rather UDA political party, that wants these particular utterances probed, and this is through their lawyer, Elias Mutuma, in a letter dated June 7th. We'll be keeping tabs on that, but just as we said, this is just but a sneak peek as to what scribes have captured as trending stories, to just look into what is happening across the globe. There's the issue of gun ownership, especially in the United States, with glaring statistics. Just to sample but a few, it indicates that there have been at least 246 mass shootings in the U.S. through June this year. So technically, this means that, you know, 246 is more than the number of days that we have had up until the June 5th. And this, 246 mass shootings have happened in schools, at the mall and such, and this is the worst record since the gun violence archive began tracking mass shootings. Further details are available on our website that is very much active for your viewing and perusal. www.kbc.co.ke. I'm Regina Manyara, and I wish you a pleasant viewing ahead.